Hello everyone and welcome back to Dugout Daily. I'm Charlie and I'm joined by Bernard. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, mate. Yeah, I was a bit not great for a little while yesterday, but it all finished well in the end.
Yeah. We'll get straight to it then. First of all, I'd like to say something about Ukraine. Fair play to both clubs, Everton and City, for what they did yesterday. A link is in the description to help donate to help Ukraine with, of course, what is happening at this current moment in time. We'll get straight to it then. Everton 0, City 1, Phil Foden with a late goal. What was your thoughts on the match, Bernard?
Yeah, I think we have to be philosophical, mate. I mean, my thoughts now are a little bit different to what they were immediately after the game. I think overall it was one of those games that people say, that's how champions do it. That's how you sort of sneak a result. And obviously that was the thoughts initially. And the only thing that dimmed it, the only thing that sort of ruined it for me and sort of ruined it, well, didn't ruin it because at the end of the day it went our way, but it was just the total naivety and stupidity of Rodri, and it just totally ruined the whole thing. I think City thoroughly deserves to win that. Everton played extremely well, did a pretty good job. But I just think that Rodri element has just put that side to it now that's tainted it a little. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what anyone does it? We've got it. We've got the 3 points in the bag. Nothing. We can't go back and change anything. But that just for me, from a performance that I thought in the second half from City was a lot better. And why it took us 45 minutes to get going, I do not know. Partly because Everton probably eased off as well and sat back. But yeah, I think yes, it was just the frustration. I think it was a hard won 3 points, and it was just the frustration of the sheer stupidity of one of our now most experienced and most a player we rely on, and that's what sort of put a little bit of a down on it now when I'm thinking back now, as opposed to what I thought 24 hours ago, after the match.
Yeah. So we'll get on with the starting 11, of course, starting with City, the general 4-3-3, with Ederson in goal, and midfield, a back four of Stones, Diaz, Laporte and Cancelo, Rodri, De Bruyne and Gundogan in the middle, Foden on the right, Sterling on the left, with Bernardo in the false nine. What were your thoughts on the team, Bernard?
Yeah, it was too different to what I thought. I thought Walker would start the game, so I was a little bit surprised, as people said. Obviously, the Stones experiment has to go on because of the Champions League, of course. We've got a dead rubber, though, for the second leg, so I don't think that sort of holds as much water as it did before the first leg of that game, to be honest with you. I don't think that, if we're thinking forward to the last 8 game, we don't know who we're playing yet, so if we do get through, fingers crossed, let's face it, we should. So I don't think that holds much water. People have said that. Obviously, he's got to adapt to being without Walker. So I don't agree with that, basically. And I think that was a bit of a surprise. And also why Mahrez didn't start. I think most of us thought Mahrez would start this game. But apart from that, it was a good enough team. But yeah, a couple of key things. Obviously, you got Gundogan shoed in there, which is fair enough. I do like Gundogan, but sometimes it makes us a little bit slow, and it certainly looked that way in the first half.
Yeah, definitely. And the Everton team looked like this. They were in a 4-3-3 as well, with Pickford in goal, a back four of Coleman, Holgate, Keane and Kenny, midfield three of Decore, Allen and Van der Beek, Iwobi on the right, Gordon on the left with Richarlison up top. What were your thoughts on the Everton team, Bernard?
Yeah, I dreaded it when I saw Richarlison because I know the way he plays football, and we get sucked in as a team and say this naivety Rodri showed. We do show a lot of naivety sometimes and let these players get like Richarlison take the mick, and it's ridiculous. I mean, we should be cleverer as a team. We're an experienced team. We shouldn't get sucked in. So that was a worry. I'm glad Calvert-Lewin wasn't playing. I don't think he's the greatest player, but I think he's a good player for Everton. I'm glad he wasn't playing, but Van der Beek or Van der Beek. I'm not too sure how you pronounce it. I've heard different pronunciations, but there's always a chance he would do something, isn't there? Obviously, with the United links, but yeah, pretty much more or less what I thought.
Yeah. And then we'll go to the stats then. 33% possession to our 67%, 6 total shots to 13, 2 shots on target to 8, 3 shots off target each, 1 block shot to 2, 3 corners to 4, 4 offsides to 2, 7 fouls to 14, 3 yellow cards to 2, 1 big chance to 3, 1 big chance missed to 2. 1 counter-attack to none, 1 counter-attack shot to none, 4 shots inside the box to 8, 2 shots outside the box to 5, 7 saves for Pickford, only 2 for Ederson. 328 passes to 676, 76% accurate passes to 88%, 33% accurate long balls to 44%. No accurate crosses to Everton to our 13%, 69% successful dribbles to 81%, 128 times Everton lost possession to our 136, 52 duels won to 58, 7 aerial duels won to 17, 22 tackles to 17, 7 interceptions to 12, and 27 clearances to 14. What's your thoughts on those stats?
Yeah, I mean, you look at those stats, mate. 1-0 is fair enough, and you wouldn't, despite what I thought was a quite even first half, I think most of those pluses for City probably came in the second half, because I think if you did a half-time stats, I don't know if they do them or not. I think it would have been slightly different to that. But at the end of the day, on the face of it, on those stats, that the best team got the 3 points.
Yeah. And the attack momentum then looked like this. Everton with some periods, but not much. City overall were the better side based on this as well, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the second half, especially when, obviously, as I said, I think it was a bit of a mixture, wasn't it? Everton probably did get tired, but they were sort of trying to defend as soon as he came out for the second half, and that's fatal. I think even the commentators, who were pretty useless, said it. You can't, you could see a goal coming for City. You can't just keep defending. We're going to find a way at some stage, whether it's by a fluke or a magnificent goal or a well-worked goal. There's always going to be a way for City to find a goal. And Everton, in that second half, brought it upon themselves. I said they could have easily got away with it in the end, but because of our failings, but they brought it on themselves really by the second half play. And certainly they worked the socks off, and I think they were tired, but certainly not at the start of the second half. They wouldn't have been that tired. So I was a bit not disappointed, but I think that's normal, isn't it? I think when you go 0-0 against City, you're going to try and hang on to what you've got, and you can't blame them for that. And I think that reflects in those stats.
Yeah. We'll go to the players then, starting with Ederson, of course. His stats look like this: 2 saves, 1 high claim, 2 saves from inside the box, 36 touches, 67% accurate passes, 9 out of 9 accurate long balls, 1 out of 1 ground duels were won. He was fouled once as well. Thoughts on Ederson's game, Bernard?
Yeah, a couple of negatives. I think towards the end of the game, some of his clearances, a couple of bad clearances into touch, I think. And he is a cool guy, and I expect his clearances to be a little bit better than that. If he can't hit someone long, then I expect him to sort of play a shorter ball to a City player. And so a little bit of negativity there on that basis. A fairly obvious booking for him, which I think at the end of the day, you think Pickford probably wasted about 10 minutes during the game, and Ederson probably wasted 1, but he's the one who ends up with a booking. But we know that we've got used to that over time with City goalkeepers. It's happened to Ederson before. as soon as we try and waste a bit of time, our goalkeeper gets booked. But I've never seen, you very rarely see an opponent's goalkeeper get booked for doing it from the first minute. So it's a bit unfair. Yeah. But he did a couple of things. I think they said a couple of saves there. I think it was that one. I think there's one that it was straight at him, wasn't it, from Richarlison, where it could have been offside anyway. I wasn't sure. We didn't go back and check that. But yeah, he did what he had to do. As I said, that's the only negative. So a steady game for the amount of work he had to do, which wasn't a lot. I just want him to see in the last 5 minutes of a game, perhaps his kicking, which is normally okay. I just want him to be a bit more accurate with it and say, because he's calm and cool, but obviously his kicking didn't reflect that calmness in the last, say, 5 or 10 minutes of normal time and injury time.
Yeah. James here, an Everton fan, says, afternoon, lads, absolutely gutted with that yesterday. Couldn't fault our efforts, but you guys got the victory, so fair play.
Nice you to say so, James. Well, much appreciated, but Everton will be fine. We'll talk about it later if you stay with us, guys, mate. But I think Everton will be fine if they play the next 4 games, which are all very winnable in that frame.
Yeah, definitely. So next up at right back was, of course, John Stones. His stats look like this: 1 clearance, 1 interception. He was dribbled past once. 5 out of 8 ground duels were won. 4 out of 5 aerial duels were won. 11 times he lost possession. 1 foul. He was fouled once. 95 touches. 89% accurate passes. 1 key pass. 5 out of 7 accurate long balls. 1 shot on target and 4 out of 4 successful dribble attempts. Thoughts on Stones' performance, Bernard?
I thought he had a bit of a mare, to be honest with you, that first half. I thought he was that Gordon lad. I liked the cut of his jib, as we say, us old men. I thought it was a great little player, that Gordon. I don't know how long he's been playing for Everton. Perhaps that young man will tell us who's just been on. But I was quite impressed with Gordon. I think he sort of worried him a lot, and most of our problems came down that left-hand side. I think Alan was contributing as well towards that left-hand side. And I think Stones had a nightmare. I'm not going to blame him. You know me, I love Stones to bits. He's playing out of position. You play out of position against a team who are going to bring the game to you like Everton sort of did and battle you. It's going to be very, very difficult. Second half, he was much better, but the whole team was much better. So didn't surprise me. Had a great shot that Pickford did okay to save, at least keep out and parry up in the air, and I think he got it at the second attempt or something like that. So yeah, he was all right, but he was playing out of position, so he did struggle a bit yesterday.
Yeah. Next up then at centre back is Ruben Diaz. 4 clearances, 1 interception, one tackle. He had 1 out of 5 ground duels were won, 5 out of 6 aerial duels were won, 6 times he lost possession, 3 fouls, 112 touches, 97% accurate passes, 2 out of 5 accurate long balls as well. Thoughts on Ruben Diaz's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, I mean, I've had a bit of, not a downer on him, but I don't think he's been as great the last few games. But I thought he was the standout in our defenders yesterday. If you include perhaps Rodri in that as well, the defensive midfielder. I thought he was our standout yesterday. I don't remember him getting too much drawn into these silly fouls I was talking about before on Richarlison, where he obviously wins the fouls because of our naivety. I don't remember Diaz getting caught out in that way too much, mate. I don't know if you do, but I thought it was our outstanding player in defence yesterday and a very, very solid performance.
Yeah. James has put a comment in here. Stones just couldn't help Gordon in that first half. Doesn't help that he was out of position, but I agree, second half, he looked better. Big up Anthony in the chat as well. And then left centre-back was Emerick Laporte. His stats look like this: 2 clearances, 1 block shot, 3 tackles, 4 out of 6 ground duels were won, 2 out of 2 aerial duels were won. He lost the ball once, 1 foul. He was fouled once, 124 touches, 100% accurate passes, 5 out of 5 accurate long balls, 1 shot off target as well. Thoughts on Laporte's performance, Bernard?
Well, 100% accurate passes. You can't be too churlish about it, can you? Again, I think he got drawn in by Richarlison and perhaps another player or two into silly clumsiness. But yeah, not quite as up there with Diaz. But I think, as pointed out there, certainly in the second half, he was more comfortable on the front foot, as most of our defenders are. Let's be honest about it. We're all comfortable on the front foot. We're not so comfortable coming on the back foot when we're under pressure. But yeah, I thought Laporte was fine. As I say, I think he got dragged into a couple of clumsy tackles, but overall, you can't argue with that 100% pass rate. That's what you want from your defenders: accuracy, either putting it into danger spots or putting it to another midfielder to do something else. So, yeah, he was not as good as Diaz, but he was okay yesterday.
Yeah. And at left back was João Cancelo. His stats look like this. So Cancelo, here he is. One clearance, 2 interceptions, 3 tackles. He was dribbled past 4 times. 8 out of 15 ground duels were won. 21 times he lost possession. 103 touches, 81% accurate passes. 1 out of 5 accurate crosses. 2 out of 4 accurate long balls. 1 shot on target, and 5 out of 6 successful dribble attempts. Thoughts on Cancelo's performance, Bernard?
Defensively, okay, but I don't think Everton were giving us a threat, particularly on that side, so he got away with that. Going forward, again, I read Stuart Brennan's match report on his player ratings, and he said he was a little lax with his passing, but it's been like that for the last 4 or 5 games for me. His passing has been over-hitting crosses, over-hitting passes, under-hitting them, and more of the same yesterday. I just thought very poor going forward. It's great on the ball. I think it said there 5 out of 6, I think, dribble. You know, he went past people dribbling. Great on that stage, but it's that final ball that at the moment with Cancelo, no doubt about his passion. I'm not going to argue about that, but he just lacks something, a little bit of silkiness in that final pass at the moment. And he may get it back, but at the moment, I think he believes a little bit of his own hype. He needs just to knuckle down a bit and perhaps play the simpler pass sometimes as well, rather than always go for the big one, which he's trying to do. You know, it's always going out of play for a throw-in or a goal kick at the moment. So, yeah, it was okay. And say defensively, he was fine because he wasn't put under that much pressure. And I think he did. I remember him coming back a couple of times and nicking the ball. So all well and good, but I just want to see a little bit more going forward from him.
Yeah. Into the midfield then. Next up is, of course, Rodri. His stats look like this. So 119 touches, 87% accurate passes, 1 key pass, 6 out of 14 accurate long balls, 2 shots blocked, 2 out of 7 ground duels were won, 3 out of 4 aerial duels were won, 16 times he lost possession, 1 foul, 5 clearances, 3 interceptions, 2 tackles, and he was dribbled past twice as well. Thoughts on Rodri's performance, Bernard?
Not his sort of game, Everton. Very physical. Roger, you know, for a big lad, he's not particularly good at that side of it. I don't think. I'm not. Say I've been picked on for having a go at Rodri before, but I thought again yesterday, even allowing for that disastrous thing at the end, I have no idea what his brain was thinking. He had no pressure on him whatsoever. And then we say we did get away with it, rightly or wrongly. We can argue that till the cow comes home. Come home. Yeah, I just thought he struggled to get into it yesterday. I think, and that's the sort of team he does struggle against, that battles and works hard. And I'm not saying Rodri doesn't work hard. I just don't think he's that type of player. I think he struggled a little bit yesterday, and one of our poorer performers. And I think even Diaz was having a bit of a go at him as well, not just for that late thing either. I think he had a go at him a couple of times. So that says it all for me.
Yeah. I forgot to say while we were talking about Cancelo, but that was actually his 50th win for City in the Premier League, so quite a good start there. Next up then is Kevin De Bruyne. His stats look like this: 61 touches, 76% accurate passes, 2 key passes, 1 out of 6 accurate crosses, 1 big chance created, 2 shots on target, 3 out of 3 successful dribble attempts, 5 out of 13 ground duels were won, 22 times he lost possession. 3 fouls, 1 clearance, and 2 tackles as well. Thoughts on De Bruyne's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, another one. He could have had a goal or two. He could have had an assist or two, if you like. Not quite, but again, as I said, I think we keep saying this. It's like a stuck record. He's working really, really hard. Things aren't coming quite off for him, and that's probably because around him we've got too many sort of square pegs in round holes, or vice versa. Some of our players, the quality players like Bernardo, are being asked to play in different positions to what probably their best is, and Kevin's suffering from that, obviously, because he's not been able to find the players in spots where they can do damage. But you can't bulk at his work effort. I must say he was there. He had Pickford made a couple of certainly one good save from him that I remember. So he was there trying to get the goals and trying to make things work. So I won't have a downer on Kevin because he's a quality player, but he is struggling to show that quality at the moment, just because of the way City were playing, and yesterday the way Everton played very, very well certainly in that first half, and even in the second half they defended very well. So he did struggle a bit, but 100% effort as normal.
Yeah. Big up Niall in the chat as well. Hope you're well, mate. Everybody make sure to like, share, and subscribe. We've got a couple of comments here from James as well. He says Rodri couldn't handle the physicality yesterday. And he also said, we kept De Bruyne fairly quiet. I thought he got on the ball a few times, but we didn't allow him to play much of his strengths. Yeah. He didn't
can't argue with either of those points. I think he's quite right.
Yeah. Some stats on De Bruyne then. Yesterday was his 200th game in the Premier League. And he tweeted after the game together with a picture of the team celebrating after Foden's goal. So we'll get to Gundogan then. His stats look like this: 51 touches, 89% accurate passes, 1 key pass, none out of 2 accurate crosses, 1 out of 2 accurate long balls, 2 out of 2 successful dribble attempts, 6 out of 8 ground duels were won, 1 out of 2 aerial duels were won, 8 times he lost possession, he was fouled once, 1 offside, 1 interception, 3 tackles, and he was dribbled past once as well. Thoughts on Gundogan's performance?
Yeah, as I say, I like Gundogan, and Pep shoehorned him in. But again, did we get the best out of him in the position he was playing? That he got into the box, certainly in the second half a bit more, which we would like to see him because we know he's quite capable of scoring goals. But again, seemed a little bit underutilized, and a lot of the game I thought passed him by a little bit. Considering he was on for most of the game. Was he on for? Did he get subbed? Did he get subbed? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, for 70 odd minutes he was on the pitch anyway. Yeah, passed him by a little bit. I perhaps want him to grab hold of the game a little bit more. But again, like Kevin, very difficult against the way Everton played and the way they battled. And Gundogan is another one that doesn't like. I don't think he enjoys the physical battles from not just this season, but since he joined us, it's never been his forte. So I think like Rodri in a way he struggled, but he was okay. He nearly grabbed a chance or two. So okay-ish, considering he was shoehorned in again by Pep, I think, and probably didn't play in his best position or allowed to play in his best position.
Yeah. Into the front three then. On the right at the start of the game, of course, it alternated throughout, was Phil Foden. His stats look like this. He scored the goal, 2 shots on target, 1 shot off target, 2 out of 3 successful dribble attempts, 1 big chance missed, 61 touches, 80% accurate passes, 1 out of 6 accurate crosses, 3 out of 9 ground duels were won. 1 out of 3 aerial duels were won. 17 times he lost possession. 3 fouls. He was fouled once. 1 interception. And he was dribbled past once as well. Thoughts on Foden's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, I don't think Phil Foden worries about physical battles. He gets, for a small lad and a young lad, he gets involved. He's not worried about that. He'll like to have a whinge if he gets a foul. Of course he does, but a lot of good players do. It's just part of the game. But he's up for it. He was in the right place at the right time to pick up on a bad error, of course, in defence, and that's all that matters. That's what you want your players to do. And I thought he played okay apart from that. Nothing outstanding again, as I say, but I don't think any City player was particularly outstanding. But he was there in the right spot to score the goal, and all credit to him. He took it calmly as well. He didn't just panic and hit it first time. He actually took a touch with it, took it a little bit away from Pickford, and Pickford didn't really have any chance to respond by the time. He just nudged it to one side and then calmly slide-footed it home. So great, well-taken goal from an error. And he was alert enough to pick up on it. So, yeah, not a bad game from Phil Foden from a pretty unmemorable day overall.
Yeah. Next up then is Raheem Sterling. His stats look like this: 38 touches, 79% accurate passes, 1 key pass, none out of 1 accurate crosses, 1 out of 5 ground duels were won, none out of 1 aerial duels were won. 12 times he lost possession, 1 foul, 1 interception, and 1 tackle as well. Thoughts on Sterling's performance, Bernard?
What do we do about Sterling? I mean, is it the fact of Merseyside? I have no idea. I mean, we've seen a little bit better from Sterling, haven't we, for the last few games? But I mean, the last game wasn't great, and this game he was our worst player on the pitch, and that allows for Rodri being an idiot. Definitely, Sterling was terrible. Absolutely, he offered nothing. Absolutely didn't offer anything. Nothing. I think he had some okay passes where he was passing back to someone, but he never succeeded in getting past anyone. He couldn't. Everton sort of snuffed him out easily. He was just lacking in. And again, all right, he may have been let down by the guys around him and people not being available, and but he just wasn't at it yesterday. I mean, I don't know what you think, Charlie. I mean, what do you think about Sterling? Am I being unfair? I just thought he was our worst player. As I said, even allowing for people like Rodri's brain farts. I thought Sterling was pretty awful. How he stayed on to the 70. What was it? 70. What minute was it? 77th minute. How the hell Pep kept him on till the 77th minute is beyond me. I mean, we shouldn't doubt Pep. Of course we shouldn't. But he would have been off after 20 minutes for me, perhaps half an hour. Mancini would have had him off after about 10. Would have after 10 minutes. And, of course, I would have, at least half time or at least 60 minutes, which is Pep's favourite time, isn't it? I know we're in the ascent, but it wasn't anything to do with what Sterling was doing. Get him off on 60 minutes. Get Mahrez on, change it, do something. It's just beyond me, Charlie, with Sterling on that sort of performance. Why he left him on the pitch? He was awful. He should have been dragged off.
Yeah, he couldn't find a player in City colours yesterday, Sterling. Just kept giving the ball away, which is, of course, disappointing. A couple more comments here. James said, Foden, for me, was your main threat. He was giving us problems in that second half, not just a goal. And he also said Sterling was non-existent yesterday. I wasn't even shocked that he was subbed off. Yeah, did absolutely nothing all game. So the final starter then was Bernardo Silva. His stats look like this: 2 shots on target, 1 shot off target, 1 out of 3 successful dribble attempts, 1 big chance missed, 53 touches, 91% accurate passes, 2 key passes, none out of 3 accurate crosses, none out of 1 accurate long balls. 5 out of 9 ground duels were won. 11 times he lost possession. 1 foul, he was fouled twice, 2 interceptions and 2 tackles as well. Thoughts on Bernardo's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, I think that heat map sums it up there. He's just literally on the right, wasn't it? And again, another player that Pep, just for whatever reason, the fact he's he's not playing to his strengths, and Bernardo, they weren't playing to his strengths. In fact, the only time he looked a bit dangerous, where he did wander over to the left and cause a little bit of bother. And he had obviously coming in from the right, he had that chance from KDB's Pickford save from KDB, which he did everything right. To be honest with you, he sort of smacked it nicely. It would have been going in the net, but all credit to Pickford, a great save from. Second save from Pickford to deny him a goal as well. But as I said, apart from that, he was just too much for me. I want a freer role for Bernardo. We're not utilising him as best we can, and there are reasons for that. And Pep's got his reasons for that. That's of course he has. But yeah, again, we didn't see the best from Bernardo yesterday, but not particularly because of his fault. He's 100% the same way KDB doesn't stop. Bernardo certainly doesn't stop. Yeah. Just not utilising him where we should, but there probably are reasons for that. But far better men than us will probably tell us why.
Yeah, yeah. James says Silva again. We kept pretty quiet as well. Pickford made a top draw rebound save from him. Now, yeah, I totally agree there.
Yeah, I like Pickford. I like Pickford. People have a go at Pickford. I like Pickford. I'll pick on him for time wasting, like I pick on everybody. But that's every goalkeeper. That's not just Pickford against City. That's every goalie. I quite like Pickford. I like Pickford as a stopper. I think he's great. He's not perfect, but he's certainly by far the best in England for me. Anyway, at the moment, as far as consistency as well. I mean, he does make mistakes. What a goalkeeper doesn't. But yeah, I like Pickford.
Yeah. Into the two subs then. They actually both come on at the same time. The first one being Riyad Mahrez. His stats look like this: 5 touches, 80% accurate passes, none out of 1 accurate long balls. He lost the ball once, 1 offside as well. Thoughts on Riyad Mahrez's performance, Bernard?
Yeah, not non-existent really, mate. I don't think he had a real say in what happened for the 13 minutes plus injury time he was on. Didn't really have a lot to do. I don't think they got any of the goal involvements, anything to. I think there's the sort of change in tactics probably helped get to the goal, but I think the goal was coming anyway before that substitution. Even if we kept Sterling on, we probably might have squeaked it. But yeah, not much chance to do much. I'm not going to have a downer on Mahrez. For me, he should have started the game. You can't blame him for not doing much in the time he was on.
Yeah, yeah, and the big up Static in the chat as well. Hope you well, mate. Next up then, Gabriel Jesus. His stats look like this. He had 4 touches, 100% accurate passes, 1 out of 1 aerial duels, 1, and he lost the ball once. Another non-existent substitute performance there.
Yeah, but what Jesus does is obviously he's a pain in the ass. So as far as Evertons are concerned, you don't want something when you're tired and you're hanging on, which is what they were doing. All right, he himself didn't perhaps create anything, but the fact he's on the pitch running around is an absolute pain in the bum for opponents, certainly. And that's what Jesus does as a substitute. That's one of his great skills because, I think Stuart Brennan said he's non-existent, but I mean, he was there. He was there. Obviously, he didn't stand on the touchline watching the game. So for me, yeah, it was a good substitution. Although whether it had anything to do with us getting that goal is another matter. I don't think that made any difference whatsoever. But it's the last thing perhaps someone like Everton want to see when they're tiring and trying to hang on for a time that a deserved draw is what they would have got at the end of the day if it had ended up 0-0.
Yeah. James says, for once, Jesus didn't even score against us. He always seems to score against Everton. Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. So, on to the manager then, Pep Guardiola. Did he get it right yesterday?
Yeah, well, he did because we won, but yeah, what could he do? I mean, as I said, it's only 2 players different to what I thought. We have to wonder why Walker and Mahrez didn't start the game, but it's squad rotation. There's other reasons that we don't know. Strategy-wise, yes, Plan A wasn't quite working the first half. Plan A with a little bit more aggression and pace the second half started to work a little bit better. Why we can't start first 40? Why we give ourselves just 45 minutes to win a game? It's not the first time. A long chalk is beyond me. Pep probably doesn't know either. I'm sure Pep's strategy isn't to sort of get through a first half 0-0 and then see what happens in the second half. So, yeah, good kick up the backside at half time. I assume we look far better the second half, but you got to ask questions about things like Sterling not being dragged off earlier, things like that. And I say, yes, we were all over him, but it wasn't the fact Sterling was helping pepper in the Everton goal. And why wasn't Mahrez brought on? But hey, what can we say? We can't. I mean, we do criticise Pep, of course we do. We can criticise Pep at the end of the day. I'm sure he accepts criticism, but it just seems a bit odd. But as I said, the team he played, it was just really Everton. Everton were exceptional for a lot of that game and stopped us. And we know that with City. We know we have our limitations sometimes against certain tactics. But we played Plan A and it worked in the end just. So, yeah, well done, Pep.
Yeah, yeah. We'll go to Everton then. How do you think they played, Bernard?
Yeah, I was looking at there about Everton fans still on there. I mean, they've got in the league. Obviously, forget the Boreham Wood FA Cup game. We won't look at that. But they've got Spurs away, Wolves at home, Newcastle at home, and Watford away. And I think they've got at least 8 to 10 points, if not 12 points, if they play anything like what they played against us. All right, they'll have to perhaps put the shooting boots on a little bit more. Keep Dele Alli away from the team because he's a waste of space. I mean, we didn't talk about him, but he's another. I think he got booked just for being an arse. To be honest with you, that's the only reason he got booked. No, obviously, we know why he got booked. But I'm just saying, I keep Dele Alli away from your team, mate. If the Everton fans still on, I keep him well out of it because he's a waste of space. But yeah. As I say, I think, if they can get at least 8 to 10 points from that, that'll take them up to about 32 points. And obviously, it's not safe, of course. But yeah, show that fight they showed yesterday. And they've got, Frank Lampard is doing a pretty good job. He's the right sort of manager for a fight. And I know Everton's dogs of war sort of historical syndrome. Yeah, and I think if they can do that, I mean, if they come out of that Spurs, Wolves, Newcastle and Watford only picking up 3 or 4 points, yes, they're going to stay in trouble. But I think based on what they did yesterday, they can redo that, have a rest on Tuesday against Boreham Wood, perhaps play some of the kids and hopefully still get through. And then just concentrate on the league and get those next 4 games, be positive. And they'll come out of that by the end of start of April, looking a lot better and not so worried.
Yeah. James says we have massive games coming up. It's now or never for us. I think our home record is key for us, but our away record is shambolic. I think Everton are bottom of the league on away form. This season.
I mean, Spurs away and Watford away. I mean, I think they're okay against Spurs. I think they've got a reasonable record against Spurs away. And let's face, Spurs are Spursy, aren't they? They battle Spurs. They'll be there for the taking. And Watford away, they've got to hope to get something there. And certainly the Wolves and Newcastle home games, they've got to go for 6 points. So that's why I'm saying 8 to 10 points minimum, and it'll look okay.
Yeah. We've got a few quotes here from Pep before we move to Paul Tierney, the referee. So the first quote, of course we are sensitive for everything, especially for Alex Zinchenko. It is an issue all around the world, not just the Ukraine people, even for innocent Russian people. They are sent to war and don't want to go. We are sensitive of the headlines. He also said Zinchenko is worried. You should be worried in the country you grow up, your language and friends and family, and 1 or 2 people decide to attack you. You'd be worried, and I think Alex is. He also said on Everton's penalty claim it was offside. There was VAR and the action was offside. I didn't see the image. He also said, thank you so much for all the people at Goodison Park. So emotional. Not a nice moment for Zinchenko and the Ukrainian people right now. The people from Goodison Park were amazing for this. He also said, I have to admit it was really important. The second half was much better for the consequences of the first half. Goodison Park for us is always so difficult. Good victory, another step. He also said, we were searching, we tried and we were there. We earned a good fortune. Everton has top players. Their quality is there. We knew it. And finally, 11 games to finish the Premier League. The players we spoke to, the team we have to win all the games against Tottenham, Southampton, and today we performed who we are. Keep going and trying to do it. We'll move to the referee then, Paul Tierney. How was his game for you, Bernard?
Well, yeah, I mean, even for the incident at the end, I think the thing with Tierney, I think the commentator pointed out the last game he reffed, he let flow. This one, he was stopping it and starting it, for things. He's a bit of a conundrum, Paul Tierney. He can do that. And yet yesterday he was doing it. And obviously the error, the thing at the end, it wasn't particularly his fault. If he did, I think he's admitted that he didn't properly get a good view of it. If you don't get a good view of something, you don't give a decision. It's simple as that. So he has to rely on VAR to actually either make a decision or bring it back to him.
Yeah.
Obviously, this offside thing, the Premier League have said it's nothing to do with the offside. That didn't come into it. But when does it come into it? So if it had been classed as a handball, did they not go back and check what happened before that, like they did with United a few weeks ago when they went back about half an hour to something that happened half an hour before in an offside to sort of goal out? I mean, so even though we got the call for that one, it is a bit odd. But that's VAR, isn't it? That's how it's done. It's piss poor, to be honest with you. It's not very well done. And yes, as an Everton fan, I would be disgruntled with that. And as I say, but should the VAR sent it back to Tierney? But then should it have gone back to what happened in the build up to it? So you can't win. You have to take it and accept that these things will go for you and against you. We've had enough against us. I'm sure Everton have had stuff for them and against them, like every team does. But Tierney himself, I don't think, as I say, apart from him starting the game a bit too much for me and a bit too picky sometimes. Some games he lets them flow, other games he doesn't. I don't think there's much he could have done more than he did with the contentious elements. Let's put it that way. Yesterday, I think, as I say, it was fine, but I think VAR, but just continues to totally puzzle everyone, and that's what it does. It just puzzles us week in, week out, pluses and minuses all the time with it.
Yeah. We'll move, and the Premier League actually released this graphic last night. I'm not actually sure where on the arm it hit, Rodri. I think it was just below the sleeve.
Well, again, Charlie, I mean, you look at the still images, and some clearly show it's more up his arm where it says no handball, but other images show it's further down. But a lot of the images showing it further down were from behind, so it could have been a few inches away from his arm at that stage. You can't tell because of the perception. So it's and it's all right for the commentators to say the Gladys Street were up in arms for it. Of course, but from their angle, it would look like it was lower down the arm because obviously they not got the right perspective either. But I saw 4 camera angles, and for me, 3 were inconclusive, and 1 looked like handball. So I mean, what do you do? I mean, it's not clear and obvious, is it? I mean, it's horrible, but it isn't clear and obvious. And Tierney himself said he couldn't make it out, so it was up to VAR, and VAR made a decision. And we can argue till the cats come home. And as an Everton fan, I would say that's a handball. But I've been there. We've been there with City. We've seen things like that against City. So you just have to get on with it and accept it. But we got away with it. We got the 3 points. There's nothing to say they would have scored it. We don't know, do we? It's a total different thing. And there's nothing to say we wouldn't have got the other end and got one back. It doesn't matter. That's just the stage of the game. And unfortunately, as fans, we have to go along with it. I mean, I'd prefer to just go along with what the referee and Lino thinks on the day. But unfortunately, now we don't. We have VAR to contend with as well.
Yeah. James says the referee was pathetic in general yesterday. What I cannot understand was why didn't VAR tell him to look at the monitor? I've given up moaning on
that's not the ref's fault, is it? The referee's crap. Yes, he was crap, but you can't blame the ref for that. You can't blame the ref for that handball. You can't blame him. He didn't see it properly, which he wouldn't have done from his angle. He was behind play. He might. So it's a bit unfair. He is crap. Yes, I agree with you. I don't like Tierney. There's no decent referees. They're all rubbish. They're all garbage. But I don't think there's a lot more he could have done if he'd been sent over to the camera to check it out. Again, as I said, depending which angle he looked at it, would he give a penalty? We'll never know. We'll never know.
Yeah. We'll move on to the fans then. Great noise from the away end yesterday. Of course, both sets of fans as well, showing respect for Zinchenko and Mykolenko, the Ukrainian Everton defender. What was your thoughts on the fans yesterday as a whole?
Yeah, well, Goodison's a good old-fashioned ground, and when they're up for it, they're up for it. And the ground, where you've got in the same way, if we were still probably at Main Road, it would be a lot different to what we get at the Etihad. It's just, and Goodison's one of those very old grounds that you can still get that atmosphere. All right. I mean, I probably quibble over how many songs they've got. They've probably got about 3 songs they sing, and I have a bit of a laugh about that when we played them before. But that go on repeat all the time. But at least City fans have a few more perhaps in a game, even at the Etihad or away from home. But yeah, I mean, they got behind the players. That's all you want from Everton. That's all you want. And it's like us, if you think back the way Everton battled, certainly that first half and even most of the second half. That's all we used to ask from our players, Charlie, in the old days. We just asked our players to battle. That's all we wanted. We wanted them to fly in with the tackles. We wanted them to do the Richarlisons of winning fouls, stuff like that. You know, this is how it is. That's the levels, and that's what you accept when you're battling to survive what Everton are doing. And the fans, quite rightly, will be up for that. The fans will get behind you. Whether it's Goodison Park or Main Road in the old days, and hopefully, you never know, it'll be Etihad in the future if things are going badly for us. And we'll get, there's a solid amount of fans there. They'll always get behind the club, and Everton have got that. They've got that. They've got to put up with that crap over the road at Liverpool, like we have to put up with the crap with United. So great, it's great for them, and I'll say that's why I think they'll be okay, because I'm sure the fans will help carry them through. Certainly at Goodison. Again, a little bit more. If you're Everton fans, still a little bit more away from home. They're not the loudest. Certainly not the loudest at the Etihad. I don't know, and certainly at Main Road, they perhaps weren't the loudest away fans. But they'll do their bit, and I think they'll help pull the team round. They'll be the 12th man, and it'll work for them.
Yeah. James says, I was there yesterday and the atmosphere was really good. Your fans were good as well. Just once that goal went in late on, heads dropped, not just in the players, but in the crowd.
Absolutely. Well, that happens all. I mean, we don't go far behind, do we? And against Tottenham last week, when we went behind a couple of times, it's hard. I support my team, but I get down. Of course I do. I get down. If I'm disappointed in how my team's playing, I can't bust a gut and sing at the top of my voice when I feel really down. If we're getting slaughtered, I probably can. But when we're making silly errors and letting silly goals in, of course you can't be at it all the time as fans or players, I suppose. It works for both, doesn't it? And as soon as City got that goal, of course you're going to be deflated, and then you sort of obviously you get back up again before the end of the game, because we'll support you ever more. We used to sing at Old Main Road when I was a kid. That used to be a popular song. We'll support you ever. We don't sing it, and never sing that now. I don't know why. I love it. I think it's a great song. But that's what we used to sing. For me, at every game at Main Road that I remember, although we were very good then. But it was just that we'll still be here, whether you crap or not. We'll support you ever more, and that's how it should be.
Yeah. Big up Big Morgan in the chat as well.
Hi, Big Morgan.
He says Everton were poor. Best team. What? Best team won.
You can always rely on Big Morgan to come out with the city agenda.
We'll move on to the man of the match then. Who are you giving it to, Bernard?
Got to be Foden, mate. I mean, I didn't give anything. I mean, Spurs last week, I was pushed into one. I mean, just Foden, because I think in a very overall pretty naff performance, a bit better the second half. I think he was 6.5 out of 10 I give him, which was my highest rating yesterday, which isn't high, is it? Let's be honest about it. It went down to 4 out of 10 for Mr. Sterling, unfortunately. And my starting figure was 6. So if you think about it, I wasn't overly cruel or overly generous. That's my starting figure for yesterday. So, I think Phil Foden, based on the fact he was there at the right time, the right place, I gave it him.
Yeah. And then the Premier League table then. Actually, man of the match for us, Alan, 100%. Yours was Phil Foden. That's what James says. There. So the Premier League table then looks like this. Everton dropped down to 17th, a point behind Burnley, with the same games played. We're now 6 points clear of Liverpool, but of course they have a game in hand there as well. How are you feeling for the title after yesterday, Bernard?
Well, you still got to be confident. As long as it's in our own hands, mate, we'll have to be confident.
Yeah.
I'm a City fan. I'm always glass half full anyway. But we have to be confident that they can still do it. And obviously, the key game could be it might be different by the time we play Liverpool at the Etihad. It might all be be totally different by then. But obviously, that's the big game, isn't it? It depends how Liverpool approach it. I think we've got a fairly good record at the Etihad against them anyway. And Klopp isn't always overly positive, but if he's forced to be positive, then I think that'll work for Liverpool. If he's within striking distance, he might be a bit more negative. So We'll see. I think that's a key game, but we've got some big games before then. Liverpool have got some big games before then. We'll see how they go. And Everton down there. The other plus point for Everton, as well as those next 4 games that we mentioned, is the fact they do have games in hand on the teams above them as well.
Yeah,
don't they? Leeds, Brentford, even one on Newcastle, who seem to be kicking clear now anyway. But so they do have the benefit of games in hand as well. So. Yeah, it's not quite as bad, perhaps, for Everton as it could be. I'm sure as an Everton fan, I'd be panicking just a little bit and a little bit down on it. But I think positivity by Mr. Lampard. I think with Lampard, I think that's a big difference. I think if the other guy was still there, he probably wouldn't. But I think the fact that Lampard's there, and he talks a good game, Frank Lampard. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, Big Morgan also says, "Hi Bernard, Foden was everywhere. Sterling was nowhere."
Yeah, he was slagging him off the other day, so yeah, he's having to apologise now.
yeah. He also said, "Very emotional start to the game. Well done, Everton," as well.
Are we going to talk about the Peterborough game?
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I'll leave it till then. Yeah, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so we'll move on to the Peterborough game then.
I was just thinking now you're talking about obviously the emotion. I mean, someone said today about Zinchenko and how can his mind be on it? Well, I think it will be on it, and I think he should play Tuesday night, Zinchenko. I think he should start. I think the fans, both sets of fans, will be thoroughly up for it. I think Zinchenko wants to play. I think it's just a way to repay things and do things. And I think Zinchenko doesn't want to be sat on the bench cooling his heels. He wants to be out there playing. And I think it'll be great. It'll be great for him, and great. It'll be two fingers to certain other gentlemen in other countries who deserve a thing, as you said, that thing before the program started. And I think players like Zinchenko and that Everton guy, I don't know if he's obviously not in the first team. Not on the first team sheet much, is he? I don't think they're lad that plays for Everton. But no, let them play and play what they love doing. And say it's a way of showing two fingers to a country and a certain gentleman, isn't it? Let them do that. And I think mentally wise, I think he'll be fine. I think the fact of kicking his heels is probably worse than actually getting it out there involved. He's with his teammates. He's with fans of both fans who from either team will be totally supportive. And I think that Peterborough game will let him play. But generally, yes, I mean, that's my thoughts on the Peterborough game. I think we'll make 9 changes, Charlie. I think we'll make 9 changes to that team that played against Everton when we play Peterborough. Zinchenko will be one of them. He'll be playing left back. And I still think most of the guys, I think all the guys on the bench will play. The only one that's a bit funny for me, I don't know what you think, is obviously the keeper situation. Will he give Slicker a go, or will he stick with Carson? Because obviously Stefan, he's not going. I'm sure Ederson won't play in it. So is he going to give Slicker a go? Which I think he'll love it. I think Slicker will love it as well. I think he, as a goalkeeper myself, to some extent, not to their level, obviously, but these one-off games where you perhaps make a debut, you're up for it. You're everything. After that, it probably goes downhill. But certainly debut games and big games like that, he will be up for it, Slicker. So I wouldn't be surprised. Although I do think probably he'll stick Carson in just for the experience, if you like. But I think all the guys on the bench then, apart from Slicker, Carson onwards yesterday against Everton, will play in this, and there's only be a couple of guys who played against Everton playing in it. But obviously, a free hit for Peterborough, who's struggling. They look as though they're doomed to relegation. He went down. They're behind Derby, and let's face it, Derby had about 100 points took off them this season. They're below them, so I'm exaggerating slightly, but so they are in trouble. But this will be good for them as well. Good for them. Good for the fans, of course. Hopefully, the fans will love it. I think the Swindon fans in the third round loved the visit of City. I hope the Peterborough fans enjoy the visit of City as well, and they come out with some credit, as long as it's not too much credit. As long as they come out of the game with some credit, I think they'll enjoy it. And as I say, I think Zinchenko playing will just add to the atmosphere and add to the game, in all fairness.
Yeah. Some comments here. I've been panicking since November, but I'm fully behind Lampard and the team. That's all we can do as fans. Yeah. Big Morgan also says Zinchenko captain on Tuesday. As well.
Good point.
Yeah. So we'll wrap it up there then. Just before we wrap it up, mate, where can we find you?
Well, you know, I'm busy, Charlie. I've got my Citizen channel, which is obviously my City YouTube channel. City past, present, and forever, I call it. Well, as long as I live, anyway, that's forever as far as I'm concerned. But it'll be there in the ether, won't it, mate, when the worst comes to the worst. And of course, you follow me on Twitter at Bernard_Dineen. And if you like films and TV, I do little stuff, reviews and information blogs on films and TV as well. So have a look at that. You want to have a break from football, which we do sometimes, don't we, mate? But much appreciated. Great to be on again, mate.
Yeah, cheers for coming on again. Of course, you can find me here, Dugout Daily on YouTube. Also, hit the Apex as well. I will be watching the cup final between Chelsea and Liverpool on here later as well. So, unfortunately, we're going to be losing our...
I won't. It's our cup. Nobody else's cup. They can sod off till next season now.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we will be losing the trophy, but to the Reds, or will it be to the Blues?
Who do you want to win, Charlie? Before you go, who do you prefer to win it?
Is there a way where they can both lose?
Yeah, ideally it would be that. But look, you're on the spot now. Who would you want of the two horrible alternatives? Who would you want to win?
Probably Chelsea, to be fair.
Yeah, I'd say that. Although I don't want them to win it, but yeah, I mean, I don't want Liverpool winning it 9 times now, as opposed to our 8. That's the problem. But I do think Liverpool probably will win it because of the circumstances with Chelsea as well, with their off the field problems that are obvious, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think Tuchel's already been making excuses as to why he won't win it by sort of saying the minds aren't quite on the game with what's going on off the pitch. So there you go. But I expect a Liverpool win, unfortunately.
Just imagine they both lose. That would be great to see. So you can find me here, Dugout Daily on YouTube. Also hit the Apex on YouTube as well. At MCFT Hibs on Twitter and at FootyAwayFans_. I nearly forgot it then. So everybody, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you all later. Take care and goodbye for now.